Hello and welcome back to another Consultant Proficiency Resources, otherwise known as CPR LC Moral Leadership Coaching Tidbit, where we're breaking through traditional 20th century leadership style for optimum success. I am Cheryl, and I'm the managing partner for Consultant Proficiency Resources, otherwise known as CPR LLC, where we're resuscitating and reviving one business, one leader at a time. If you're new to this platform, a very hearty CPR LLC welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. And we hope that you will continue with us on this wonderful transformational journey by simply hitting that subscribe button and, of course, the notification bell. That way you will be advised of all future uploads. If you're returning on this platform, a very hearty CPR LLC welcome back. We pray that you're doing the work because, as we say on this platform, faith of your passion and purpose without works is absolutely dead. You can't do it. You cannot transform without the work. Having said that, understand that this platform is based on my very own coaching practice being brought and made available to the virtual community. You're welcome. And having said that, the foundation is simple. It's a winning formula. It's biblical plus business principles combined for, again, a winning formula. So if you're in your faith walk and you're a woman minority-owned business, you might be a corporate executive, you might be an educator, or even an aspiring entrepreneur, this is the platform for you. You want to ensure that nothing disrupts your faith walk. So you're going to do the work, adhere to biblical principles, and of course, we will provide also the business principles. So if you're ready to roll up your sleeve, let's go. Be sure you have your leadership log, your pen, paper, of course, you pack your patience, and you can be engaged. You could always stop this video at any point in time. So this is lesson number 5, episode number 5 of our pilot series, and it's titled Quantifying Negative Character Traits. You heard me correctly, quantifying as opposed to qualifying negative traits. The past few episodes, we were qualifying. We made available to you positive traits of a moral leader. We made available to you negative traits of a ineffective leader. And we also made available to you, episode number 4, Tommy's negative traits, and you had homework. The homework was simple. You were required to self-reflect, engage your team, whether your spouse, a confidant, or member of the executive team. Ultimately, the final analysis is yours. So you would list on your log Tommy's 26 attributes, and after each of the qualifying attributes, such as arrogance and foolish, ignorant, and obsessive, after each qualifying word, you put the equal sign and you assign it a numerical value of 1 or 0. This is very, very elementary, but it's leading towards statistics, but it's not. We've got you. Okay, so hang in there. Don't turn away from this. It's a handheld approach, like all of our other episodes and like our coaching practice. Okay, so you're simply just assigning the number 1 or 0. If it pertains to you, assign a number 1. If it does not pertain to you after reflection, assign it to number 0. After that, you simply add up, aggregate the left column and the right column. You're aggregating all the ones because, as we recall in grade school, 0 has no value. So if you had 7 ones on the left side and 10 ones on the right-hand side altogether, 7 plus 10 is 17, right? That will be a numerator, one of the numbers we'll be looking at to calculate the percentage of negative traits that you have that Tommy also possess. So let's show you an example. I want to remind you first, Tommy, right? This is Tommy, sad face. He knows he has to do the work. The goal is to turn that frown indeed into a smile. So these are the 26 traits. 13 on the right, 13 on the left. You put the equal sign and you assign a numerical value of 1 or 0 to each word. And it's pretty simple. But that's not all, because we're about a handheld approach type of coaching. we're going to do it for you as well as an example. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we're going to get our whiteboard. Here we go. Open and collaborate. We're going to do almost the same premise that I've just introduced orally. So here we go. Let's get a pen. We want to make sure it's nice and bright. And I want it to be in red. That way everyone can see it. There we go. So first, let's introduce Tommy again. He has his eyes, his nose. He is indeed frowning. The goal is to turn that frown into a smile. So he's a bit irritated, but you know, we get the picture. Tommy, we got you. Then we're going to apply the left and the right screen of Tommy. So this is a left attribute. I'm just going to put L, signifying that's the left-hand side of Tommy. You could also look on while you have your logbook with you with all of the information documented. Then we're going to put R here for the right side of Tommy of the 13 of the negative trait attributes that we're going to have listed, and then we're going to code it. When we're doing studies, it's easier when it's coded to read as a key or a legend, and also when you're plotting. So for example, the first two words, one to the right, one to the left, was arrogance. So that's the letter A. And the second word was obnoxious. That's the letter O. We said we want to put in the equal sign. Forgive my, okay. We want to put an equal sign indicating we're about to now quantify the value. We're going to assign it a numerical value. So if you said through your self-reflection that being arrogant pertains to you, you want to assign it a number 1. Similarly, if you reflected and you said, but I'm not obnoxious, fear, you assign it a 0. You see, when you do your self-reflection brings about self-awareness. Self-awareness brings out self-correctness. Self-correctness then allows you to more easily accept constructive criticism. And doing that day in and day out is how you improve. Okay, so stick with us. We're going to do this for the entire 13 on the left, 13 on the right. Okay, let's just say the last word was foolish. We put a letter F. And the last word on the other end was dull. Okay, remember that being a word, that's the letter D. And I said, okay, you said you're dull, and you may also have stated that you're foolish. Now, you could handle this legend in 2 ways. You could only include the words that you have the numeric value because that's the one you're going to calculate, or you could include all 13 words right and left and then assign it a 1 and a 0. But at some point, you're going to have to put that 0 in to remind you that that does not pertain to you. Okay, we don't need to add and build more than we need when it comes to negative traits. Okay, so let's say that. Let's put in a series of 1s. Let's just say on the left-hand side, you would have garnered and aggregate the left-hand side. And let's just say you had 10 1s. That signifies that 10 of the qualitative attributes, you assign a numeric value of 1. When you did the aggregate, it is 10. On the right-hand side, again, let's just say you did it, and the number here is 6. When you did the aggregate of all of the 13 attributes, you assign 1 to 6 of the qualitative traits. So therefore, your total for the right side is 16. When you do the math and it's a plus sign, the sum is a plus sign, you're adding the left with the right. That gives you a total of Tommy traits for you in this example is 16. Your number might be 3. It might very well be 26. It doesn't matter the value, it's the work that you're going to put in behind where you are today. And that's why CPR LLC Moral Leadership Coaching Tidbit is about building blocks. You first have to understand where you are on the positive side, then you have to understand where you are with the negative traits. The negative traits is what's pulling you down, and that can possibly sabotage your business. Okay, so now we have the number 16. We have to create, in order to understand the statistical value or the quantitative value of the work you have done, we have to create a formula. The formula is simple. It's numerator over the denominator. So that is 16 we just aggregated. Plus we said Tommy had altogether, left and right, total of 26 attributes or negative traits. That's 26. And when we do the math, it gives you 61. 16 divided by 26 is 61. And then you just simply put a percentage sign. So what we're saying in this formula, out of the 26 attributes that Tommy displayed, if you did your reflection, and for this example, we are saying person Tina possessed 61% of the negative attributes. Now, there's a 20-80 rule or 80-20 rule. It depends on how you look at it as it applies to business. I believe the 80-20 rule was first made popular in the movie, Tyler Perry's movie, When I Get Married, or When Do I Get Married? Something similar to that. Don't quote me. How Did I Get Married? With Janet Jackson and a couple of others. So in that, one of the couples, I think one of the male couples said, oh, you have to apply the 80-20 rule. And there was this big laugh. So it really took form in the everyday world. The 80-20 rule was applied for relationships. But in business, we always had the 80-20 rule or the 20-80 rule. It's also applicable in healthcare. We view employee satisfaction surveys or patient satisfaction surveys for that matter. And we had that 80-20 rule where 80% above was okay. If you did less than 80%, there's work to be done. There's corrective action. For this particular example, when we look at Tommy and we look at the exercise we just did of 61%, again, it reads 61% of, let's just say it's Tina who completed it, 61% of Tommy traits were found in Tina. Or better worded, Tina possessed 61% of Tommy negative traits or habits, okay? And 61%, when we apply the 80-20 rule, when it comes to negative traits, the rule is 20-80, where you want to get 20% or less. You certainly don't want to get 80% or greater, okay? So you want to get 20% or less. In this example, it was 61%. So there's a lot of work to be done. But again, it's not about where you are, it's about where you're going, where you're heading. And this is the path, this is the road CPI desires to pave for you as you transform into a more moral and ethical leader. You have to do the work, but it starts with honesty with yourself, self-reflection, self-awareness, self-control, and being able to accept constructive feedback from anyone, right? So we do know that in episode 4, we introduced the term character, hence the reason we had a negative character. We said there was positive character and negative character. We indicated the positive character, you can easily get a foundation from Galatians 5:22-23, the fruits of the spirit like love, joy, peace, long-suffering, temperance, meekness, goodness, faith, hopefully I mentioned all of them. And then we mentioned Galatians 5, I believe 19-21, had what I call rotten fruits, right? Or fruits of the flesh, which is really rotten to the core, like backbiting and deceitfulness and maliciousness and envy and coveting, right? And we all know that we can unveil a lot of those as part of in the commandments. Thou do not, right? Do not covet, right? If you covet, that's going to lead to you desiring someone else's whatever, fill in the blank. And what happens that you are not discovering who you are and who you were meant to be in terms of your purpose for this life. So coveting is not an option. It's negative trait, and if it's not addressed, if it remains as a weakness and an opportunity, you're conducting business sabotage, or I would say self-sabotage, because you're doing it to yourself. Having said that, those 26 words, I'm going to share my screen with you, can easily become, you could have 40 words or 100 words. So if you would like to go ahead and use a larger list than just Tommy's 26, here you have about 40, you have 4 columns. It looks about 10 in each row. So it's about 40. They have inventory as large as 1,000. Those you may have to pay for. In my practice, we introduce more. Again, we spend a little bit more time on this. This is just to give you a little flavor of not only what we do, but again, assisting you on your journey. So indeed, you can use as large a list as possible, do the math, simple statistics, rudimentary, assigning a numeric value to each qualitative value, get an aggregate, do the fraction, do the math, and you're done. The next area I would like to do is so what we do next. This is a beautiful illustration of what you should do next with that understanding of your positive traits, fruits of the spirit versus fruits of the flesh or rotten fruit, or negative traits on one side. This is you, as you see, section clearly in the middle. I use my little stickies for so many different things that serve as a reminder. So whether it's on your wall, your whiteboard, your mirror, your door, wherever, poster board, wherever you desire to place the stickies, one recommendation from CPR LLC, unless you have a better one, you place it in an area that's visible. If you want it in an open area, you're welcome to share with your team. If you don't desire to share with your team, that's fine as well. You keep it in a private area. And what you do day in and day out, you would reflect on it. In episode 1, I recommend looking at that SWOT analysis that we've created of moral attributes and looking especially at your weaknesses and opportunities and looking in it and reminding yourself the work that needs to be done for that week or that day. CPR LLC starts on a Sunday, so I would do that on a Sunday and say, where do I need to start? Because again, bad habits, really, you honed it over a period of time, maybe your entire adult life, maybe even part of your early childhood into an adult life. So to break those habits, it's going to take time. It's going to take work. But if you do smart work, what we're offering here at CPR LLC, and if you do it day in and day out, faith without works is dead. You do the work, you apply the techniques we have provided to you totally free of charge, you can slowly peel away those negative traits and replace it with positive. It's in order to get the positive traits to stick, you have to remove the negative traits. You cannot hold on to the negative traits and leave room. There's no room. You're 360, there is no room. So as you get rid, and I would say stamp out that negative trait, you have to replace it with positive. So that's why you need to see both at the same time. And again, you do the work and transferring that information. So here again, looking at a sticky pad, everything that's on the negative side or to the left side of the screen, eventually you should be peeling that away. And if we know the only one we fear is the Most High, once we peel that away and no more fear is dominating the business and how we make decisions, and we're free to be creative and to explore within the bounds of moral and ethical guidelines, we're good to go. And you can replace that fear with faith. And then you would place faith on your right-hand column. Faith should be front and center and most prominent as you continue on your faith walk. So that completes episode number 5. The theme is really looking at the negative traits and quantifying it. So the theme is quantifying negative traits. Pretty simple. Hopefully it was simple enough that you were able to do it. Of course, if you have questions, you can send us an email at workclimate@cprlc.com. And as always, we conclude with positive, keeping it all positive and being a faith-based business is important that we close out as such. And it's important that we demonstrate our faith. So we're looking at the book of Timothy. So Timothy 1, chapter 4, starting with verse 12, it really talks about being examples. So as entrepreneurs, we are led to be example, to be a light, right? We know the light on the hill. And this is not just for our private life, right? Our wonderful private life. This should be carried over into our professional life as well. So 1 Timothy chapter 4, verses 12, and it reads, "Let no man despise thy youth, but be thou an example of the believers in word, in conversation, in charity, in spirit, in faith, in purity. Verse 13, till I come, give attendance to reading, to exhortation, to doctrine. Verse 14, neglect not the gift that is in thee. And meditate upon these things, give thyself wholly to them. And that's verse 15. And the reason why I opted to go with this particular script in these particular lines, because even though it focuses on your gifts, right? And what was prophesied in terms of your using your gifts, you could apply it to the everyday world in terms of using your gifts. And we pray that your passion, what you're passionate about, is also your purpose. You've realized that it is your purpose, and therefore it's your gift and it's your calling for while you're here on this earth. And in doing so, you could do so by being a light. And in the business world, it is about being morally and ethically sound. It is about doing the right thing at the right time and ensuring that your employees who are viewing you day in and day out understand that this is a moral and ethical organization. Again, employees will model your behavior. Hence the reason that you must set the right tone and example. And if you have not, it's not late. It's not too late. You can reverse. And that's the goodness and the grace of the Most High. It can be reversed. So if you do the work, it can be done. This concludes episode 5 of Quantifying Negative Character Traits. I pray that it was helpful to you. And I would say my conclusion is always work diligently in displaying your light. That's very important. In the playground and in the boardroom. Have a blessed week. And I pray that I see you at our next episode, number 6. Thank you.